Hey guys, time for another CirdecSongs chat. I am very excited to have today's guests on, and I have multiple guests on. This is the first time I get to look at multiple screens. This is a good time. I met these guys at Prog in New Jersey last fall. Wonderful group of people, super talented. They call themselves KYROS, or KYROS, depending on whose whose decision it is in the band. Very nice to see you guys. How about you introduce yourselves? Ladies first.
Greetings, I am Shelby Logan Warren. I am the lead vocalist and keys player.
I'm Joey Frivola. I play guitar.
Hi, I'm Robin Johnson, and I play drums.
I'm Charlie Kaywood, and I play bass in the band KYROS.
Excellent. And we're working on our Klingon pronunciation, by the way, folks. We'll get back to you when we figure that out. Your band is fascinating to me in that you've managed to combine the likes of 80s synth type pop, which I grew up with because I'm old, and you're able to turn that into a more progressive long form format. How did that come to be?
I suppose it kind of just happened, like just varying influences. We've some of us are big into the synth pop, and some of us are more into the progressive side of things. And there's a Venn diagram somewhere in there where it all comes together, and you end up with KYROS.
Nice. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just because, certainly Shelby and I in particular we've always been very into the 80s pop thing. And I think it first started to emerge on Voxy Minor. I think the first album was much more of a prog album, Synesthesia. And yeah, Voxy Minor, you can hear the 80s influence creeping a little bit on some of those songs. And then I feel like every album since, we've sort of taken it to a different level. So it's just simply a combination of styles that we're into, really. I think we wouldn't write a song if we weren't into how it was sounding. So yeah, it's what we like, really.
Anyone else? Bueller?
Shelby's got the equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose, to expand on that, I've always really looked up to the likes of Trevor Horn and everything that he was doing with ZTT and Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Propaganda and Seal, etc., etc. And a lot of his production style and the people that he was working with, I always saw it as like this weird challenge in my head to try and unlock and figure out what it is that is the key to all of that. Like all of the auxiliary people that were around at that time that were working with the different bands that like were really experimenting with that polished kind of synthy kind of sheen kind of sound. Like, I always bring up Rush's Power Windows as a perfect example of a band that was really trying something new that was more contemporary at that time. I have this endless infatuation for what it takes to get that kind of production to sound the way it does, because I feel like there's not really, some would say it's dated, fair enough, but I think I find it really interesting, that kind of like, whiz bang ear candy kind of production where there's just so much going on and like these little like pops of stuff that just like catches your ear every now and then. And in recent years, there's been a lot more of a simplification of production and more of an emphasis on, vocals being much more upfront, and like everything that happens instrumentally becomes a bit more stripped back and dry. But that doesn't really interest me as much. Not to say it doesn't interest me at all, but it doesn't kind of, when I'm working with recording and trying to get the most out of a recording, my brain tends to gravitate towards, how can we really spruce this up and give it some pizzazz.
I can understand that.
Yeah, we don't exactly have a track record of stripping things back. It tends to be the opposite for us.
We might call it maximalist in its approach.
Yeah, I think that's what we sort of. I don't know if it was sort of intentional, but we definitely, that's how we seem to like our music.
Yeah, I think with each album, as I've done more of like the whole production experimentation and learning new techniques, I feel like I've slowly, bit by bit, unlocked more stuff in my brain. Like if I'm
Yeah.
gamifying all of this, I've unlocked how to do parallel compression. I've unlocked how to really do gated reverb properly. Like,
Right.
If you want an example of what we're dealing with here, when we flew to the States for Cruise to the Edge, I think it was on the flight there, because it's a long flight from London to Miami. I was sat next to Shelby and received a free like info dump about the ins and outs of the Fairlight, and the history of it, and
yes.
how it was used to create the sounds that we know from recordings of that period. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's very educational.
That's good. You reminded me of I'm a big fan of an old TV show. It's hard to believe it's 25 years old, called The West Wing. And Martin Sheen plays the president, and President Bartlett has a knack for just explaining the history of anything that these people are flying over in Air Force One or what have you. You know, let's talk about the history of the fjords, or or something like that. You didn't ask for the lesson; it just kind of showed up. But I can understand technology driving your desires, your musical desires. I mean, I bought a processor a few months ago for my guitar. It's like, ooh, look at all the pretty noises that makes. But I've seen Shelby play around with stuff on TikTok with the synthesizers and what have it. How about you guys? Is anything else driving you forward?
I recently got myself a stylophone theremin, which is a thing that exists now, and I've already shoehorned it into something. We'll see if it makes it in. But yeah,
I'm sure somewhere in the mix it will be in. Yeah, in there.
It will be
We can find a space for it.
It's going to be in there. I mean, there's space for everything else.
Right.
Space for a little bit more. But yeah, it's a cross between a stylophone and a theremin, and it does have the antenna that pokes out of it, but you've also got like a pitch slider, so you can just hold down the thing and just slide the pitch around, and it's got this sort of nice sort of like glidey sound to it. It's got a couple of like waveforms on it, and it's a nice thing. It's fun to play with.
Yeah, I mean, for me, sampling is kind of the big thing, which I definitely integrate that a lot with my main setup. I mean, I've got like a Roland SPDSX Pro, which is like the latest version of it, which is an incredible piece of gear. And I really like, whenever I set up my kit, I always set that up with the kit now, because I really want to sort of force myself to sort of incorporate it as much as I can. Like, because I'm really into just the acoustic side of the drums being the kind of organic side,
Right.
and the sampling side being the complete opposite of that, the very digital. I guess some would say sterile, but I think it's like the tension between the two, which is the thing that interests me. The kind of very flat dynamics of sampling and getting as much dynamic range as possible from the actual drums. So yeah, I find that endlessly fascinating.
I'll tell you one thing I did recently in terms of finding stuff that could go on KYROS stuff. There's one particular new track that I've been sort of like laying down parts on lately, and it's sort of been mostly me for a little bit, just sort of squirreled away, just like shoving whatever on, and we haven't actually like dropped any of it in yet, or like opened the project for a while. And I had this like little kind of like threat towards Shelby, where every day where she doesn't open the project, I put another instrument on it, because other than like bass and guitar and all these other, I play I play all kinds of like stringed instruments and got like little gizmos and things with strings. And I was just sort of, okay, every day that we don't open the project, another instrument goes on. And I kept that up for a few days actually. So I'm looking forward to that.
When you're inspired, you're inspired.
Folder.
Let's open it now.
Yeah, no.
This is the day where you stop.
1,000 instruments show up.
Well, how many tracks are you guys working with in studio traditionally?
Few hundred.
Many.
Oh,
So many.
that's I would deem that to be an open-ended question.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know, like how there's this kind of theory that there's like many different types of infinity. There's like you can get a small infinity and a big infinity. Well, we've managed to cover the whole range of that with our number
We've
of tracks.
somehow used both infinities.
Yeah.
Nice. Or you could use a middle infinity. You just never know. I want to go
infinity.
out. Yeah, I want to go out, but I want to go that far out.
Yeah.
I just want to leave
We'll take
here.
infinity, but not the biggest infinity. That's
Exactly.
too decadent.
Exactly.
Middling infinity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You had me thinking of Pat Mastelotto when he was part of the double duo with King Crimson.
Oh yeah.
And they recorded The Construction of Light. He just used the V drums, and it was fine, but it wasn't quite enough. So when he brought his kit back in, when he brought his DW kit back in and incorporated it with the electronics, that's it. Because I remembered sending him an email, that's much better. I can hear a snare drum right now on top of everything else. And yes, that's the way it goes. So the hybrid is best as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we like to really mix it up. Like, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, if you listen to the last album, you can hear there's some samples there, there's some real drums, and like, I think it's probably gonna go that way as well for the new one. It's just, yeah, like I said, it's the tension between electronics and acoustic. I think is a great thing.
How does what's the KYROS writing process? Where does it start? Is it a jam type thing? Does somebody come in with ideas? How does it work out?
It's usually between myself, Joey, and Charlie. We'll kind of have a pool of songs that we'll throw into. We'll have a folder, and that is the pool of songs which we will throw contributions into. And some ideas will be less developed, some will be almost fully fleshed out songs. And then as to how we kind of end up at the final point, it's we kind of just like chip away at it slowly. Someone will say, "Oh, how about we try this?" or "How about we try that?" And that could happen at any step of the way, from the moment it gets put in the folder right up to when we're mixing the album.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the fact that, like, because we keep all of it in-house, we have that flexibility to kind of continue to make adjustments right up to the final stage. I mean, I remember when we were doing Mannequin, there was stuff that we were adjusting. I think we got to mastering, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Jerry probably remember better than I do, but there was something that we did when we got to mastering, and we were like, should we do that? Should we record this and put it on the album?
Yeah, there was a lot of examples of that all the way till the end, of just like little details, or even one song very, very late in the game had a complete key change.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was
Was it the transitions between tracks? Because obviously Mannequin, pretty much every song has a little sort of segue. So maybe it was that. I think some of that was fairly last minute, but
it was the interlude track. On
maybe.
Yes, the little atmospheric, the diddly lead. That was like a very last minute addition. But also,
oh, actually, are you thinking of Ghost Kids on Celexa Dreams?
I'm thinking of Selected Dreams. I'm getting confused now.
Okay, yeah, that one, that was literally written in the middle of the mastering process.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yes.
But it's a similar kind of thing, though. We like to find ways to join the songs to sort of create transitions.
Sure, you can like cut it even finer next time, like during like manufacture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
record straight to CD.
Yeah, literally stop the press.
Yeah, but even just beyond it being crazy, I think it's incredibly valuable to be able to kind of have this bird's eye view and be able to actually act on it at any point, all the way until you decide it's actually done. And you never have that moment where you get to go, "Oh, it would have been cool to do that, but we can't because now it's in these people's hands." It's super nice to just be able to.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes you just can't see things until it's at that point.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry, carry on.
No, go ahead.
Well, I know, like, for me, it does take a bit of time to have a more objective view about a thing that I've been working on very closely. Like, sometimes it takes a couple months of me just not listening to that thing, coming back to it, and being able to understand how things should change to point it in the right direction. I mean, I suppose one of those big decisions, Joey briefly mentioned it earlier, but the song that we changed the key for was Have Hope. And that was a whole 4 steps 4 half steps down.
Yeah.
And like that's a massive change to make, and that involved re-recording
Melodyne.
everything.
Well,
If
when
we
you,
could, we would have.
yeah.
Yes,
Well, when you hear it, you hear it. You know, that I got a funny image in my head where you're talking about that, where I would be at home playing a CD, and all of a sudden one of you would burst through the door. Wait, I forgot something.
Yeah.
And just throw it.
Pulls out your old CD burner.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, we have to come to the listener's home directly.
Yeah.
You know, bring your gear with you and just kind of play along. Okay, we should have put this in here.
Yeah. Just imagine that there was a piccolo there.
Yeah. And sooner or later, I'm going to refer to something as the diddly D section. Can we get back to the diddly D real quick? How much thought goes into knowing you're going to have to play this stuff live when you do your initial range?
Yeah, I would say very, very little.
I think we're like pathologically obsessed with not considering the live performance while we're working on the album,
which I think is inherently a part of our collective influences. Like I know for me personally, again, not to bring him up again, but like Trevor Horn and just that style of production, it just doesn't lend itself to logistically being able to quote unquote work live. But
yeah,
the difference is with us is we accept the challenge and we try and
basically we're setting ourselves up to fail.
Well, you'll figure it out. It's okay.
I mean, I think the way
there is some truth to that.
Technology, but I think also technology has come on such a long way since the 80s when Trevor Horn was doing his productions. At the time it would have been extremely difficult to do some of that stuff live. But I think now, you know, with some of the various technologies that exist, I think there are ways to do it, I think.
Yeah,
so
there
it's
are
not
definitely times
usually, it's not usually too much of a struggle.
That's good. I mean, there are definitely times
usually.
when I wonder what a Trevor Horn or a Hugh Padgham or even a George Martin would do with today's technology. You know, what would Frank Zappa have done with Pro Tools? Or
That's a good question. Yeah,
that would be very interesting, considering what he did with the Synclavier.
Exactly. So that would be fascinating. So we're not too worried too much about what happens on the stage. I mean, is it a question of sacrifice when you get up there that, you know, something's going to have to go because I only have so many hands and or feet to work with? Or
yeah, at least
sometimes
I think we all have to kind of reinterpret our parts a little bit. At least I know I do, because, you know, I'm one guitar player and on the record it's as if I'm 5 or 6 guitar players.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of times I won't play any one part completely. It's like a mixture and a kind of an amalgamation of all the parts, whatever I think is the most important moment to moment.
Right.
So there's nothing on the record that I play the same way live, and I think that's true of all of us.
Which was something I wanted to ask. How much latitude do you give yourselves and each other when you play a tune live after you recorded it? Are we aiming closer to note, or do we let things swing a little more freely? As a jazz fan, you know, I understand the need to state the theme, but we'll play around with the solos and what have you. You know, maybe I'll play it the way I did before, maybe I won't. So what's your thought process?
For me, over the last few years, it's something I've been trying to embrace more. The aspect of this is the quote unquote live version, you know, and we can have fun with it. We can be a bit more flexible. If we want to extend the solo, we can. If we want to say, oh, you know what, for the live version, why don't we do this instead of what happens on the on the studio version? And it took us a while, I think, to develop the confidence to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of pre-work, I think, in our case as well, because we're playing with, you know, to click and stuff. So you can't just decide in the moment to jam out a section. You have to decide ahead of time.
Right.
So that was really the big thing that we had to figure out a workflow for.
Yeah, I think, as far as our live tracks go, I think the structures, they are just what they are because of the click situation. Like, we can't go off script when it comes to that. But in terms of what we're actually playing within that, there is a little bit of room for improvisation. And I've been trying to sort of embrace that a little bit more lately, actually, being able to sort of improvise things like drum fills and certain, I don't know, like, because I might be playing like a certain pattern, but things like ghost notes and all the little small details, they can be a little bit different every time. And that's definitely something I've been trying to embrace a little bit more lately. And I think it's actually, I think when you have that kind of fluency where you can improvise over something you've written, I think it sort of forces you to be a better musician in a way, because it forces you to listen more. Whilst if you get into that state where you're playing the same thing every night and you're just kind of, it's just muscle memory, then I think sometimes the ears close off a bit. And I've noticed sort of since I've been improvising more, I've actually been sort of listening to everything that's going on more. So I think it's helped me a bit as a musician, actually. But yeah, so there's a little bit. It's, I don't know, little bits of improv every now and then.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Jump in, Charlie, because you're not getting off scot-free on this one.
I play the bass.
Do you improvise much on the? I'm not sure actually. If you do,
You might do, but no one's going to notice.
no one.
I'm sure we would notice. Don't worry.
I am going to keep my cards closer to my chest. You won't know.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, to use, since Rush popped up for us, I mean, I'm sure there are fans who would listen to Geddy Lee and he might change a note or two and they'll jump up. That's not how that goes. But I mean, is it? How important is it for you to stay close to the original recording? I understand that you may want to float or improvise here or there, but how, when you're playing it, how essential does it feel to stay close to the studio version?
I would say not really at all. I think whenever we decide that something should be different for live, actually, we literally had this conversation recently about how things live can be kind of a takeoff of the album recording. Like you don't have to necessarily ask if you're improving it. It's like you're changing it, and that's surprising for the audience, and that's its own joy. You know what I mean? So you don't have to. You can change things. You can almost get away with just being different for different sake, and I think it actually improves the live experience. It certainly does with bands that I watch. I always find those moments the most memorable.
It's completely case by case for me, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some sections where if I didn't play sort of pretty much what was on the recording, it just wouldn't be right. I mean, like, I'm just a random example, like the drum intro to In Motion, I feel like pretty much has to be the same every time because that it's just like it's a statement. But then there's other things, like in that song, there's other parts, like the outro where I'm soloing. I mean, that is completely improvised pretty much. So it's like, for me, it's completely case by case. And sometimes improvising's great. And I think if you improvise something that maybe you could have played it in the studio at that time, but you just didn't, it's like you're still maintaining like the spirit of the original, but it's just like what I'm choosing to play now rather than a copy of what I played then. So it just depends, really. It's, I don't know.
No, I got you.
It entirely depends on the music.
And meanwhile, Charlie plays bass. So,
One of my old bands, we used to have this joke where, like, if we'd like make a mistake during rehearsal or during a gig or whatever, or just like things would go wrong, you'd just say, "I'm just trying out some new ideas."
Yeah, it's not a wrong note unless you make it look like a wrong note.
I play mistakes twice. Like unless it's a real clanger. Like usually, if I make a mistake, I will do the same thing again.
Yeah.
So if you ever hear me play something twice that wasn't on the original, that might have been a mistake. But who knows?
we would say that line even when it was definitely wrong. But
if the rest of the band looks at you like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
I'm definitely a believer in, like, if you're going to make a mistake, then make it multiple times. Just make it the new part, and unless it just really sounds terrible. But
makes sense. A CirdecSongs chat is incredibly non-linear, so let's circle back around and talk about how you guys came together, starting with some influences. So again, ladies first. Shelby, hit me. What you got?
What influences specifically?
Whatever you want. What fires you up? Is it a genre? Is it a producer? Is it an artist?
Having touched on it earlier, it's just a lot of the stuff that really influences me is like the really intricate production of like the mid 80s. The stuff that like Tears for Fears was doing like continues to blow my mind, especially like the Seeds of Love album, especially. It's just like insane. And like that's insane in not a Trevor Horn way. That's insane in a more traditional kind of polished production way. And to this day, I mean, like it's my go-to mix reference album. It's one of the best, if not the best, mixed album I've ever heard. It's up there with Power Windows, but again, that's different. That's really good in a different way.
Right.
Yeah, Tears for Fears, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Duran Duran. That whole area of music. But then on the other side of the coin, Genesis, both the 70s and 80s version.
Acceptable.
And
Not 19 Genesis then.
See, I love Genesis. The last couple of records, okay, but
I mean, I can get on with We Can't Dance, but the last album, we just don't talk about the last album.
Yeah, that's fair.
Calling All Stations is, anyways. So
I think sorry to butt it. I think We Can't Dance genuinely. If you were to cut some of the slightly lesser tracks, I think that would have been one of their best ever albums.
Yeah.
I think that the strong tracks on that album are so strong.
It definitely has its really good moments, but then really weird moments.
Yeah, what is it? Driving the Last Spike.
Yeah, I love that track.
Yeah, I have no issue with that one.
Yeah, I absolutely love that song.
Fading Lights is also a classic.
Yeah,
really don't talk about that one as much as they should. Anyways, digression. The prog stuff that I was really into, like growing up as a teen, like stuff like Porcupine Tree, like had a massive influence on me as well. And I still continue to listen to a ton of Rush, and so I think it's just, again, like going back to your original question, the combination of that synth pop stuff with the prog stuff ends up bleeding through into what we do.
Nice. Hit me, Joey.
Let's see. I think probably if I had to pick a single biggest influence for me right now, it'd probably be Stephen Sondheim.
Okay.
It's probably a very left field choice, but I don't know. I just find that guy endlessly inspiring with what he did. Do I need to?
Yeah, I was about to say, what turns you on about that? It's an interesting choice. I'm liking where this is going. So
I think the way he works with lyrics combined with how the music shapes those lyrics and makes it all into this package, and how there's no real, when things are structured, they're structured for very specific reasons in ways that are emotionally satisfying. I don't know. There's just so much. I could go into every show that he's written and talk about it for 10 hours, so I'll stop there. But beyond that, Cardiacs is a big one. Certainly Rush, Dream Theater, all that stuff. Dragon Force actually was the band that made me want to play guitar. So
okay,
that's another weird one.
What stuck out about that?
It was fast.
Ah,
it was a lot of notes. I didn't know how they were doing it.
Yeah. All right. When I need a player with a lot of notes, I'm calling you. Because I've discovered that I like the David Gilmour approach, where I can say more with 8 notes instead of 80. Or it could just be that I'm not. I'm just not precise enough. I think that's my big problem. But we can talk about. We'll take a long flight and talk about Stephen Sondheim. That'll be.
Please, I'll ruin your flight. Sorry in advance.
I like learning things, especially musically. Robin's up. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely, one of my kind of early influences was definitely the kind of, I guess, sort of 70s prog thing. I mean, actually, my dad was quite into that kind of music, so I remember from like a really early age being exposed to bands like Yes, Pink Floyd, actually Supertramp is another one.
Oh, yes.
They're sort of proggish, I guess.
I just played Paris the other night, so yeah, they are.
Yeah. I mean, like Nick Mason was he was probably the first drummer I remember seeing and being like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And it was actually, I think it was Live in Pompeii, which, of course, that movie got re-released recently, and seeing that in the cinema was pretty amazing.
That is cool.
But yeah, growing up and then going into teenage years, I got into the kind of pop punk thing, actually. So that's something totally different to prog rock, at least in the rock world. Although having said that, like Green Day's American Idiot, kind of proggy moments on that album.
Great record. Great record.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album, that. And yeah, I mean, I got into a lot of that stuff as a teenager, and I also grew up playing like classical music and jazz too. And I studied classical percussion at music college, so I've got that side of me as well. And like a lot, and like more, probably even more so these days, like electronic music, like kind of house, drum and bass, is a big. That's like a very big part of my sort of listening. I guess my listening world as well. So I'm really into sort of anything and everything, really. It's like painfully cliche, but like it's just good and bad music to me.
Yeah, that's
like,
me.
I feel like I'm like the millionth person to say that, but yeah,
million and one.
That's how I think
over
of it.
Here. So
And actually, I have played some Sondheim in the past as well, like some of his musicals. And there was one in particular I did called "Merrily We Roll Along," that's an incredible. That's one that not many people know about, but it starts. I don't want to give away too much, but the way it works is it starts at the end of the story and tells it backwards.
Okay.
Fun fact: Richard Linklater is currently making a film of it over the next 20 years.
Oh yeah, the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so it's starting with the ending, and I guess
they've already
filmed.
they've already filmed the
Right.
first the earliest scenes, which are the final scenes of the
which are the
of
final
story.
scenes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That is wild.
People
That
are
is wild.
aging into the beginning of the story.
Yeah, but it's
So-
like there is like a real like sort of helplessness you feel watching it because
You know how it ends.
You know how it ends, and you like it's like these characters are like kind of plowing to oblivion. And there is something about that which is like very it's like a real melancholy thing, but it's got some really funny moments too.
Yeah,
and because actually when I played that, I was like sitting side stage, so I could see the stage, sort of. So I got to know it really well, and that was
yeah.
It's a
There's
powerful one.
There's a pro shot of the most recent production as well, which has Daniel Radcliffe as one of the characters. He won a Tony for it, and Jonathan Groff is the other main character. So that's coming out at the end of the year. If you're interested in that one,
Okay.
It's very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But,
Shelby.
so all kinds of stuff.
Cool. Shelby, break out the sheet music. You've got a got a new project to learn. But meanwhile, Charlie plays bass. What do you?
And 24 other things as well. Outside of, but in terms of my listening preferences, it's always been extremely diverse. So, I've always been into sort of like any sort of like left field rock music or art pop or jazz, classical music from all around the world. And often I try and like engage actively with a lot of this stuff as well. Hence all the instruments I've accrued over the years.
Right.
And that are just piling up around me as I age. And but in terms of this project, the thing that sort of like unifies us the most clearly is probably Cardiacs, as Joey mentioned. And I think that's probably our. There's plenty. I think there's plenty else, but that's probably the big like.
I think that's how we found each other in the first place.
Yeah,
which was going to be my next question. You know, how you guys managed to find each other. Chemistry is everything. You guys know that already, but chemistry is huge, especially in a band like yours, where there's so many diverse influences coming in there. How did you manage to find one another?
Wow. I mean, it's
beginning.
Yeah. So
I have time. Good.
there was a lot of kind of like key moments, I think. Like the number one key moment being the first point of like, okay, this is going to become a proper band, was when I made a post on the do you remember forums back in the day? Forums.
Yeah.
The band IQ had, and probably still have for all I know, a forum, an official forum, and I made a post in there saying I'm looking for a drummer. I've got this project that I'm kicking off, and I'm just trying to form a band. Does anyone want to join in? And lo and behold, Robin Johnson spawned into existence.
Yeah, I didn't actually exist until that point. That's actually caused me to
to manifest.
Yeah,
Yes,
I just suddenly appeared.
You beamed in out of nowhere. Beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in the middle of working on the Synesthesia album. We being myself and Mike Holmes. And Robin came down to Southampton. We got along from the get go, and here we are. Robin is still here.
Still hanging about.
Still hanging about.
He still exists.
It still exists. He hasn't
Because the minute he leaves the band, he'll go down the other side.
When he beams out again, we'll just
Schrodinger. Yeah. I mean, with Joey, we were on the hunt for another guitarist because Ollie, who played guitars on the Synesthesia album, he was actually called to be a part of Mamma Mia, I think it was.
Yeah, musical.
He had to leave the band because he was going to be doing a whole load of shows with the Mamma Mia stage production. So we made a post online saying we're opening up auditions, ideally in the London area. Send in your clips of and Jerry sends in a full playthrough of our 23-minute long track, Time, Tension, and Intervention, note for note, and we're like, cool, this one's the guy. He's the guy. Where are you based? Oh, Nashville.
Well, it's right next to London, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we were like, is that how are you going to make that work? And Jerry was like, nah, don't worry about it. So
And for some reason, they
confidence.
didn't worry about it.
yeah, as far as my understanding goes, Jerry, you dropped out of uni,
Yeah.
you moved over to London,
Yeah.
and you picked up your course at Goldsmiths, and the rest was history with that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And then with Charlie, so Peter was with us from the early days, and when he decided to become a father, we were like,
It's a matter of time.
yeah, it's a matter of
The nerve of
time.
that guy.
And lo and behold, a matter of time arrived, and he was like, I'm gonna focus on a regular 9 to 5 and being a father. And we were like, oh, okay, we respect that. We are now baseless, so therefore again we opened up auditions, and Charlie sent in his auditions, and we were like, yeah, cool, I know Charlie, we all know Charlie. It's that guy Charlie.
Yeah.
It wasn't to do with the playing. It was the fact that I don't really. I said I don't really want children, and it was like, oh, okay, right.
He said,
I feel like that was discussed in our initial interview.
Oh, it's hard, you know, when I wanted to form a band full of, you know, 4 or 5 adults with day jobs and kids and what have you, and you're trying to get us all in the same place at the same time. It's like herding cats, or, you know, or sticking Jello, trying to nail Jello to the wall. You just, you know, you would have rehearsals and there's always one person missing. You know, or the bassist can't make it because he's working, or the drummer can't be here. So that's got to drive you a little nuts at times, just trying to the scheduling. So
yeah, I mean, it's hard. We're all still very busy people. I mean, Shelby's got a studio, and you know, we've all got other gigs and other jobs and things. So it's like we have to make it work whenever we can. But the way we do it for gigs is we really prepare a lot in advance. So usually when we come together in the rehearsal room, it only takes sort of 1 or 2 run-throughs before everything's pretty much as we want it, because everything's kind of so planned out structure-wise. So it's not like we're kind of discussing in rehearsals, oh, are we going to do that for so many bars, or is that how we're going to end this? Or
what's the score
it's
here?
rare. Yeah, like we all know what we're doing. Like we all know our shit. So
it's basically laziness. I don't really like spending too long rehearsing, so I'll spend loads of time getting it right beforehand, and so then that's done fine.
Honestly,
I
I
respect
think one
that.
thing I'll on that note, well, the one thing I'll say that I think really threads us together, that perhaps makes us quite unique, is that I feel like as a band we have a lot of discipline, and like there's and not just when it comes to rehearsals and preparation and making sure that we've got our parts nailed down before we all come together in the same room, but like even in the context of putting together an album, harking back to that earlier question, I think the fact that we are able to say, okay, it's done now, and send it off, I think does require a lot of discipline, because if you're working in-house, you could just keep going and going and going and just refining it constantly. But being able to commit and say, all right, we're happy, we're done, I think that does set us apart, I think. And I'm very proud of us, like, for having that ability to be
finish projects.
Finish projects.
I was going to ask how much recording you guys do in the same room at the same time. Is it something you do frequently, or are you just sending files?
I don't think we've ever recorded at the same time, unless it's a live recording or like a in the studio live recording. We've never actually done like to studio album playing together.
Yeah, we demo so extensively. There's no need to do scratch tracks like in the studio or anything like that. So it's just, you know, whoever's recording a part has all the other parts to record to on their end.
Good. Yeah, that's good. There's nothing worse, and again, experience than, you know, having somebody come in and say, hey, how does this part go again? weren't you working on that before when I sent it when I sent it to you?
Yeah, well, there's still a lot of creative like decisions being made in the studio. Like we'll talk about a little section for a while sometimes to just figure out exactly what it should be, and get it somewhere. And it does take some effort, but
Right.
But yeah.
Now, does that discipline, and I think I already know the answer, but does that discipline transfer itself to the stage? Because again, chemistry, and again, working off what somebody else is doing, how long does it take to bring it together on stage?
Not that long, honestly. I think, because of the discipline aspect, we all know that, like, say we've got a gig coming up, to use like Prog Power as an example. We're playing Prog Power EU later this year, and we know it's happening in October on this specific day. So, like, we know that we have this many weeks to prepare. So we usually figure out the set list. Robin is usually the set list doctor, and he will do the final ordering, and then we kind of just plan accordingly, independently, and it's worked out so far.
Well, I was impressed. That much.
I mean,
is
certainly speaking for myself, I could never be that guy in the band who's like, "Oh, is that a 2/4 bar there?" Or like, "How long's that section?" Or, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize." I don't know. I generally have very little time for people who do that. I don't want to be that person ever, really.
Totally
and when we have
respectable.
to, because Shelby owns a studio, she charges us so much for studio time now.
Yeah.
Well, you got to make it. Got to make a living. My money, time is money, as they like to say. So I understand that completely.
I'll be paid in Domino's Pizza. That's fine.
Nice. Very nice. Would you guys, when you finish your record, I like asking musicians about this because I wish I could have been in the studio when Radiohead recorded OK Computer, or when Miles and his quartet recorded Miles Smiles, or Led Zeppelin, when they recorded House of the Holy. When you listen back, do you know that you created something that you feel would be, for lack of a better word, classic in your own way? Or is it just one of those, okay, that'll do, let's move on to the next one?
I would like to think that there is never a, okay, that'll do moment. There will be compromise. If there's an idea that we're like clashing on within the band, there'll be compromise. But I don't feel like collectively there will be a that'll do moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that. I never think, oh, that's going to be a classic either. I don't know. I think you kind of just have a sense internally of if it's done, or if it's as done as you can get it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's really satisfying, but whether something's going to be a classic, I feel like how would you even feel that?
Yeah.
It's really like, I mean, with all the records I've done before, it's really just like a matter of quality. Like, what the thing is, and you try and make it happen to the best of it, the best of your ability, and make it the thing that it wants to be as well as you can, and then that's all we can really do. There is a little moment of delusion that can happen between finishing the master and it being released. Like, oh yeah, this is really good. This is like, that may or may not be inflated, but you kind of have to have that feeling of like, everyone else can fuck off. Like, you have to.
I don't know. Have you read the Geddy Lee book? The memoir?
Yes, I have read the Geddy Lee book. It took me a second because I read Dave Grohl and a couple others. So yes, I did read Geddy Lee's book.
There was a bit in the book where he's talking about how mixing is the part where you start to realize how much the thing sucks, and like you go, and how it's like where dreams go to die or whatever. And I don't fully agree with him, but I do think those at least in my case, the moments of like where you're, as Charlie put, you have this inflated sense of, oh my gosh, I've really made something good here, happens more during writing. And then as things actually start to be finished, it becomes more of a sober, okay, I guess that's done. Like I do get where Geddy's coming from, but I also don't. It's not it's not so dramatic in my case. Yeah.
Right.
I think that for me, there's been the occasional track where we've finished it and I've been like, God damn, that is fantastic. I think like like I don't know, like for me it does happen every now and then, and I think, I mean, like one track for me was where I really had that feeling with Stop Motion. from the For a Fear EP, and that has gone on to be a bit of a, I guess, a fan favorite, like with us. So I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like everyone else was saying, it's sort of the excitement does like kind of whistle away a little bit towards the mixing process, partly because also by that time we've heard the track so many times,
Right.
like we're so used to it. I mean, imagine like taking a song that you love and listening to it like 40 times.
Yeah.
It's like after
Yeah.
play number 38, maybe it's not quite going to have the impact anymore. So I mean, if you can get to the end of that process and sort of be still at least a bit excited, or like still have it connect with you at least a bit, then that in itself I think is an achievement after listening to something so many times.
Makes
So
sense.
so yeah, I think inevitably it's gonna, like, it's not going to be the same as listening to it for the first time or whatever, but yeah, I think if you can just keep things just exciting enough that we still feel that way, then hopefully, yeah, like it will kind of hit an audience pretty hard.
And it's also just like having confidence and trying to like stay the course as well. Some projects that I've worked on, like there are multiple where it's got to, like, say, the mixing or mastering stage, and the artist in question just completely loses confidence in it, and the whole thing gets tanked. Like, I've played on things where it's like a lot of hard work's gone into it. It gets to the point of even mastering, and like the artist's just like, oh, I'm not sure about this now. Maybe I'll write some different songs. It's like, it's done. Just make another album. Like,
That's what you get for this one.
I mean, yeah, I've seen that happen several times. I mean, there's like I can think of, there's 2 whole albums which I've played on, which were never released. Not KYROS stuff, but other people's stuff, and it's just, I find it sad. Like, it's just why?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and honestly, I don't know how you guys feel. In my case, like, that happens every record. That moment toward the end where you go, oh God, is this even, like, you start to have this panic in your mind about whether it's even something worth putting out there.
There's always that little inkling.
Yeah. And you kind of just realize you have this sunk cost feeling of like, well, I put all this work into it, so I shouldn't delete it.
Right.
that shouldn't happen.
Should we finish this now?
Should probably show people.
Yeah.
Cringily.
Do you create deadlines for yourself, or is it just one of those things where when it's done, it's done?
We try to. I think it's part of the discipline aspect, is we try to create deadlines. As to whether or not we actually follow them is another question. But
yeah, we have I
feel like
I understand that.
Yeah.
We wax poetic about deadlines, but when it really comes down to it, it's done when it's done.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the fact that the deadlines are there, even if we miss them, that's still better than not having them. Because if we didn't have them, we'd just be nowhere. I think so. It's like I'd rather miss a deadline and still finish the track than just not.
The sense of knowing that in the back of our heads we can't do this thing forever. We can't work on the same song for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Just having that, even if it's a false deadline, just gives us a sense of urgency to say, right, we need to wrap this up now and move on to the next thing.
Makes sense. It's got to be hard to let go as an author. I know that I've written and taken a month away from it, like Shelby does. I just have to walk away because I need to get objective, and I'll come back and I'll edit, and then I'll send it to my editor, who will, make a couple of notes, and I'll just keep putzing with it, and he'll send me a note. You're done. Just stop. Let it go. And that's got to be.
I think that's valuable. That's
because you can end up splitting hairs. I think sometimes if you hang on to something for too long and you don't.
Tinkering.
Yeah, I think when it gets to the point where you're tinkering and you're kind of going back and forth and stuff, and you get in this sort of stuck in this sort of endless loop. I feel like that's when, and then often after that process, you go back and listen to how it was maybe like a couple of weeks before that, and then you end up sort of preferring the original, and you found you've actually kind of tinkered some of the magic out of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to kind of go and I think that's why demos are quite important actually, because it does give you like a sort of a bar, and like if what you're doing isn't beating that bar, then something's probably not quite right.
Right.
So
there's something to be said for leaving well enough alone. When
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely overcook something if you like Charlie said, over tinker.
Yeah. I mean, I just like to have in my head the image of Tom and Johnny listening back to OK Computer going, damn, we are good.
I'm sure they had the same feelings that we talked about. I'm sure they didn't think that.
Yeah. Well, what was it? I'm sure you guys have seen Meeting People is Easy, and when they were Radiohead documentary, and they were tinkering while they were on tour for OK Computer. You know, they were tinkering while they were traveling, and there was a bit where Johnny was going through something on the keyboard. Tom was listening, and he'd hear, "Oh, that's fucking brilliant! That is, you know," and it's like a 5-second chunk, you know. It's like, and then they'll be recording, and you know, they spent 2 days in the studio, and Tom will come out and say, "All we've got is the bass and a little vocals after all this time." So it's definitely a process when everything comes together.
Documentary,
It
I
takes
really,
sweat.
the one I really want to go back to is Some Kind of Monster, because it's just hilarious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I guess you were was Charlie. When did we watch that together? That was a
I think
while
it was
ago
just
now.
it was just before Charlie joined. I remember, three of us, Shelby, Joey, and I did watch that together. I think it was two or 3 years ago. Yeah,
It was a while ago now.
yeah.
We should do it
Yeah.
again.
That's for
That's,
sure.
I want to watch it again. It's a good reminder that even the biggest band in the world can be completely incompetent.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, my problem was I was never a huge Metallica fan. I knew they existed. You know, I'd heard a couple of tunes I liked. So when I watched Some Kind of Monster, I'm like, okay, first of all, who brought in the galvanized tin, you know, can to be the snare drum?
Well, yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it?
You know, what the hell is that? But you know, there were a couple of tunes I could listen to because I didn't know any better. You know, but then I go back and I listen to the Black Album and all the stuff before that. I'm like, oh, I see what I see what the problem is now. And yet they're playing in front of 2 million people.
I actually don't think I've ever sat down and listened through Saint Anger. Now that I'm thinking about it,
You're okay. You're okay without that.
I owned it when it came out. I bought
did I.
it. To the whole thing. Yeah, it's
not good.
It's controversially, I don't have a problem with necessarily the way it sounds, because it's a very angry, like, raw album. It's just too long.
Yeah.
It's like, all the songs are about twice the length that they need to be.
Well, it was that era, isn't it? Around sort of early 2000s when like every CD had to be like full CD
Right,
length,
yeah,
basically.
Like
yeah.
70.
Yeah,
70
it was just
long,
it was a bit of a thing, wasn't it, around then? And I think as a result, there are a lot of albums from that era which just longer than they needed to be.
I'm going to blame Tool for that, but I love all 78 minutes of whatever they bring to me. But not everybody can do that kind of thing. And I mean, listening to you guys, you know, synth pop songs are 3.5 minutes long. You know, Prog songs, you know, 12 minutes. So you kind of have to work on finding that middle ground, no?
Yeah, we like to split the difference, I think, a lot of the time.
Sometimes we do the 12 minutes. That's well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do 12 minutes.
I feel like we've got quite a lot of songs around the sort of 6-minute mark, the sort of medium.
5
long.
and 6 minutes is just so satisfying somehow.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time.
A lot of our songs end up being 5-6 minutes.
Well,
Because it's like you
that.
can get like a pop song structure in there, but it's just it's like I think of it as like kind of an augmented pop structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like pop song plus.
Yeah.
I would call a 6-minute song medium infinity. You know?
Yeah,
Exactly. That should be the next album, Middling Infinity.
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like
totally.
an album of KYROS songs that are under a minute long.
That would be interesting.
There's like a couple.
There's probably, I think Ghost Kids probably is about.
I mean, like actual people, like, you know,
Oh,
structures and
yeah.
everything.
Even Taste the Day is over 1 minute.
Yeah. How has the process evolved from your first album to now?
Oh, drastically. It's almost unrecognizable. If I were to look at how the Synesthesia album was put together and compare it to how our workflow is now, I mean, it's like, I would say the Synesthesia album was a lot more traditional, where I was working with Mike of the band IQ, and we went down to record at Rob Aubrey's studio in Southampton, and we kind of worked on the album in a more traditional way, you know, tracking the parts, getting everything in place, and it was done very sequentially, you know, and then that was that. Whereas now it's like, it's so higgledy-piggledy in the way that we work on an album. Like, one song will be like on the cusp of basically being mixed and finished, whereas another song will be like only have just started being written.
I mean, it's partly a result of how things are released as well, because like we put out the song Fear and Love last year, which is likely to be on the next album. So I mean, that's already long done. And that's partly because of just the way, you know, the music industry works now. Just like releasing sort of a song or a couple of songs at a time, and then eventually leading up to an album, it's just like
Yeah.
So it's sort of partly how we've changed and partly to do with how the whole music world has changed, I think.
I believe it because I come from that era where I come from the album era, where you might put out a single, maybe two singles, but with bands like Rush or Genesis, it was about the structure of the entire record. And while I'm thinking about it, bonus points to Shelby for using Higgledy Piggledy because I haven't used that one in quite a while.
I don't think I've ever heard Shelby use that one until right now.
It's fantastic. I need to introduce it more into my vocabulary. I think that's the first time I've used it this year.
I heard it for the first time. I was a big fan of the comic strip Bloom County back in the 80s. Berkeley Breathitt's series was absolutely brilliant, and one of their characters liked to use Higgledy Piggledy. So I understand that. Or you just saw my Facebook recently, my Facebook post when I talked about phrases I like to use, bumfuzzled, which that's actually Eric Sorkin's word. I define it as a state of confusion or frustration, usually brought about by one's own actions.
Is that also West Wing?
Yeah,
word? Okay,
that was the West Wing. It's in the first season. And my own personal word is dilly-dicking, which is, you know the solution, but you're just stalling on actually solving the problem. Mm-hmm. So, quit dilly-dicking around and get this thing done for crying out loud. So
that's pretty much what the song Have Hope is about. It's about dilly-dicking.
Yeah,
Thank you for giving me a word for it.
See, there you go. It's just slip me a dime every time you use it, and we'll be fine. Let's wind it down. The ideal producer. I think I know Shelby's answer already.
Yeah, but if you skip me, you know what I mean.
Yeah. If you could hire
I'm going to add a little addendum to that. The ideal producer. You would think I would say Trevor Horn, but I know he would be utter hell to work with.
Yeah.
To be in Trevor Horn's position and to have the knowledge and the workflow that he has, that's what I respect. But I would never want to actually work with Trevor Horn. I think that would actually be a living nightmare.
Well, Trevor, if you're watching, I hope you've been enjoying this up until now.
Either I hope you're a nicer person, then we can work together. But if you're still not, then no.
Let's
Shelby was just joking, by the way.
Yeah. Well, let's tag him real quick and see what happens. But
I would love to work with Stephen Lipson or Hugh Padgham.
Yes.
Or I know Bob Clearmountain is more of a mixing engineer than a producer, but I just, in general, would love to work with Bob Clearmountain. He's just the nicest guy. So doing something with him would be a dream come true.
Gotcha. Next, hit me, Joey.
So is your question producer to work with KYROS or
just Fantasyland? KYROS can hire anybody they want. Who would you want?
I don't think I would choose anyone. This is kind of a lame answer, but
that makes sense.
It's too that part of it. That's too much an integral part of the process. And it's so much of what comes out creatively is that, and handing that off to someone else, or even it's just not. It's not why I do this. You know what I mean? I like doing that part. So why would I have someone else do it?
Okay. So you're hiring yourself. I like it.
Or I'd like to keep it in-house.
Fair enough. Robin?
Yeah, I don't know really. I can't really, to be honest, it's not really something I kind of think about, in terms of us as a band. I mean, I guess if I was maybe someone kind of in the electronic music world, I can't really think of any names off the top of my head in particular. I don't know. I feel like someone who had a foot in the electronic music world and maybe somewhat in the prog world. I don't know who I'm talking about. You what?
Imagine collaborating with Deadmau5, KYROS, and
Deadmau5.
What would it look like?
Everything's 128 BPM, whatever it is, 4 on the floor. But it's still. But then we've got some heavy guitar in there too. That would be quite an experiment.
That would be cool.
I think I would. Yeah.
There you go. The KYROS house album is somewhere down the line.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah. What? Fuck. Why not? Deadmau5. There you go.
Fair enough. Charlie?
Well, it's a shame that Tim Smith is no longer with us, because that would be an interesting proposition. Tim Smith.
I actually have to admit that would be hard to resist.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Though, speaking of the electronic music world, as Robin mentioned, the one producer that I would do a little fantasy sort of team with would be a guy called Max Tundra, who's kind of very sort of slightly left field, very sort of electronic pop but very effervescent sounds, very Cardiacs influenced, a little bit proggy. He produced an album a few years ago by this duo from the early 2000s called Daphne and Celeste, who were sort of like this sort of like very short-lived sort of like pop duo who famously got bottled at, I think, Reading Festival and disappeared for a long time. And then he sort of brought them back and did like this really excellent sort of like electronic pop album, and then which he wrote and produced. And it's very aligned in terms of its sort of like soundscape and like sort of like the very sort of like colorful electronic sensibilities. So that would be one.
Well, we talked about Trevor potentially being difficult, and we're just kidding, Trevor. We're saying it with all due respect.
Oh yeah, I do mean that with all due respect.
Yes,
I just know that he is very much the my way or the highway kind of approach, rather than a collaborative. Can
you imagine Joey working with that?
I think that would be really entertaining to watch.
you guys are sitting off the side eating you guys are sitting off to the side eating popcorn, just kind of saying, let's see where this goes. And
I'll make that man cry.
Because I was thinking about the experience that XTC had with Todd Rundgren, making Skylarking, which is just one of my favorite records in the world. And this will be my second to last question. If you could pick one all-time favorite song, no, I'll give you two. Two all-time favorite songs. Just songs. I don't care what. I don't believe in genre anyway. So wherever it comes from, what springs to mind? Ladies first.
Number one, Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode is probably, I would say, has had the biggest sort of long-lasting, like no matter how many times I listen to it, I still get chills.
Yeah.
Second, that's a tough one. I'm tempted to say, come back to me for the second one.
Okay. We'll slide over to Joey and see what you got.
I don't think I've ever considered favorite song before. I could tell you favorite album, but
well, favorite album then. Hit me.
Well, I'm actually interested in both questions now, but favorite album of all time is Act 4 by the Deer Hunter. That's my favorite album.
Now I have to look that up.
And off that album, the first thing that popped in my head was the song Wait. That one is definitely a candidate for favorite song if I have one. Another candidate would be Octavarium by Dream Theater.
Good one.
And I guess third place, because it was very important to young Joey getting into songwriting, was 2112.
Another good one.
So
going with the classics. For Robin.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult question. I'd have to. I mean, like, there's one song which I think I kind of have to throw in there, and that's the Yes song "Awaken."
Yes.
From the Going for the One album. I think it's just absolutely sublime piece of music, and to me, it holds up to sort of anything. I would almost kind of put it up there with sort of some of the great classical pieces, honestly. Like in terms of, it's just so like subliminally well crafted. I think.
Nice.
I don't even know what I would put. What else? There's so many choices. There
are a ton of great songs out
there. I don't even know where to begin. Come back to me for.
All right, come back to you for the second round.
Charlie, help.
Okay. And Charlie plays bass, which is the name of your next solo project, by the way. I'll be producing, but I'll be very, very hands off with you for that record.
The Rick Rubin style.
Exactly.
So in terms of like song album combo, probably Sing to God by Cardiacs and the song Dirty Boy, and then the other choice would be, I don't know, the entirety of The Rite of Spring. That's a song, isn't it?
Okay. that works for me. Shelby, the pressure's back on you. Or let's do this. I'll give you a couple more seconds to think about it, because I like to see musicians' reactions when I say probably my favorite two songs. In fact, I'm listening to the sessions right now. God only knows from the Beach Boys, and I'm not a Beach Boys fan. I'm not interested in the surf or the sand or the hot rods or whatnot. But Pet Sounds is, oh my God.
Have you heard Smile?
Yes, I had that one too, and I actually had that in my headphones when I was going to sleep the other night, and I love listening to music then because everything else slips away, and it's just me and the music, and I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant. this is amazing.
To kind of bring it back to talking about, that's a very intricate album. And
Yes.
if talking about bringing it to the stage, there's a really, really, really good live performance of Brian Wilson and his band doing that whole album, and it's just
I must find that.
it's literally 1-to-1 to the record. Like he just pulls everything off.
Wow.
Like,
I saw
in-
the London premiere of Smile when it was performed by Brian Wilson and his band at the South Bank, and it was really. I wonder if that's the performance.
It probably is. I can't remember if it's in London or not.
I'm going to see if I can find it on the Magic YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah.
But, my second choice, speaking of XTC, Dear God, is just an amazing tune to me. Oh, that's just pop brilliance right there. You know, my mother got angry when she heard the theme of it, but at the same time, that just makes me want to go grab my acoustic. I'm going to learn this song real quick.
The XTC song I always come back to is Garden of Earthly Delights.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's a really great
Another
song.
great one. Same album. Oh, God. I thought of Ants Marching. The Mayor of Simpleton is always going to be a fun one for me. But, yeah, that's but close third would probably be Eleanor Rigby. You know, that tune just, wow.
That's great.
But that's kind of in the rock category. If I go to soul and what have you, then I'm throwing in Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and all that other good stuff. You know, living in the city, just living for the city. Right? Damn, there are times you just sit there and just, how did they do that? Amazing, Shelby. I haven't forgotten you. You have another tune. Looking right at you. Let's go.
This is one of those questions that is so context dependent on like what I happen to be listening to at the time. And
it changes from day to day. I understand that.
With the exception of Enjoy the Silence, that's always for some reason just stuck at the top of the list for me in my head. But my second choice, I will say Marathon by Rush.
Ooh,
you know what? That's probably up there for me as well. That's my favorite Rush song, probably.
So basically, I'm listening to Power Windows today. Is what you're saying? Oh, okay.
Yes, always, yes.
Tim Smith's one was "Tomorrow Never Knows" by the Beatles.
Another good one. Wow.
I think he was quoted as saying like, after that song, if pop music had ended there, that's fine.
Yeah. Is that the song that ends Revolver? Am I thinking of the right one?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I knew. I literally said that to a friend the other day that I'm pretty sure this is a huge influence on Cardiacs.
Yeah, and that's when they started.
That's really
using...
cool to hear that confirmed in real time.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially late period Cardiacs. I think Guns and like that era really, really takes from that song.
Okay.
All the sounds, all the reverse sounds, and stuff.
That's when the Beatles started using the studio as an instrument.
There's one tune off Tim's solo album called Ocean Shipwreck, which is of that type as well. Where it's just one thing continuously, and it's really psychedelic and like big. It's great.
Beautiful thing. It's just there's nothing better than just hitting on one song on an album, and oh my God, that's amazing. You know, and for me, when I first heard Discipline from King Crimson, my brain was kind of melting. You know, what is this?
Yeah,
and why
that's
is
a great song.
What is this, and why is it so brilliant? And why haven't I heard it yet? Tell me what's up in the future, and we'll get you out of here. Where is KYROS going? And if they don't go, where is KYROS going?
Well, the next album is being worked on. That's the main thing. I think that's if you want the boring answer, that's probably it. If you want the more extensive answer, there's we're trying to really we're trying
our best.
That's the important thing. We're
trying our best. We're knee deep in working on the next album, and we're really trying out new ideas in terms of like trying to hone a focus on like direction of production and the sound of the album. Not to necessarily say that's going to be a concept album, but just like to make it feel like this one big package that kind of just sits together. And I think part of that involves the fact that we've not booked any tour dates for later this year, because normally we would do a whole load of shows around August, September.
I was about to ask about that.
We decided to focus on the next album for the rest of the year, apart from Prog Power, which is happening in October, which will be a break from working on the album.
And probably a necessary one, just to get a little distance and a little objectivity, like we've talked about. And please come to Chicago. You know, you always have those little
Fingers
comments and what
crossed.
have you, please,
Would love to do
please
that.
come to Chicago.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you would fit in. You'd be great at Reggie's Rock Club. I can see you there. walk
Would
on the
love
park.
to. Would love to.
It'd be great. Somebody hype yourselves. Tell us where we can find your music.
Well,
Goofy.
how hype do you want? Do you want
You hype all you want to.
like and subscribe? No, it's you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, all the usual suspects. We've got a whole load of stuff on. We've got a whole load of stuff on YouTube.
Bandcamp to some extent.
Bandcamp to an extent, yeah. Bandcamp's got some additional bits and bobs like live recordings as well. Yeah, you can find all of us individually and as a band on Instagram as well.
Yep.
On all the settings.
In all the various settings, yeah. Basically, all of the social medias you will find.
I get a kick out of the TikTok videos myself because you guys always, you're one of the first ones to pop up in my feed. I'm like, oh, they got another one. What's what's going on here?
I think we always,
Shelby.
we're all inspired by skits, so we do try and do skits.
Yes, that's
yeah. All our songs are just an excuse to do skits.
See?
Yes, exactly. Monty Python is very much in our blood, so therefore,
I love it. I love it. Shelby, Joey, Robin, Charlie, who plays bass. I can't thank you guys enough. Yes, in KYROS. Still working on the Klingon pronunciation. We'll come up with that. I can't thank you guys enough. This has been a lot of fun for me. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
So we're gonna get you out there. We're gonna hope people are gonna like and subscribe behind this, and more importantly, get to know your music, because that's what matters here. So I thank you. You guys take care of yourselves, and we'll see you down the road.
All right.
Thank you very much for having us.